Good morning, folks. This is John Kogan. I'm the CEO of Performative, the online community for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. First, I would like to welcome everyone to this morning's webinar, Look Forward by Looking Back. Every marketing effort must begin with a clear understanding of the product you want to market. It's no different when you have to market yourself. You must begin with a clear understanding of your skills and passions, for this is what you have to offer to potential employers or clients. This morning you'll learn how to quickly and accurately assess your skills and passions and then use this information to build your marketing materials, your resume, your pitch, your online profile, and the content you bring to the interview. A note on today's agenda. We will hear a presentation from a longtime corporate finance leader and certified career coach, and then we will move to a question and answer segment where we will spend the remainder of our hour. We would like this to be an interactive experience for you. So if you have any questions at any time, please go to the questions area in your GoToWebinar control panel and send us your questions. So if you take a peek at your GoToWebinar control panel right now, you'll see one of the sections is entitled Questions. It may have a little plus next to it that you need to expand in order to ask questions. But feel free to use that at any time, and then as questions strike you, and then when we get to the Q&A section at the end, we will do our best to get all questions in. So we will send out a link to the soft copy of this presentation to all attendees. We are offering CPE credits to the CPAs in today's audience. To make that happen, we do have to take a brief interlude and ask a couple of poll questions this morning. So after Moishe finishes his slides, which is the first two-thirds roughly of today's agenda, we will go ahead and kick out poll questions to you. We'll answer those real quickly. Then we will get into the Q&A section. If you signed up for CPE credits in advance, you're in great shape. You don't have to do a thing. If you neglected to do that, please send an email to Tanya Walsh, and her email is twalsh, W-A-L-S-H, @performative.com, and she will get you all set. Today's presentation is actually already out on Performative. If you want to pull it down even prior to us sending you the email with the link, then you can go ahead and do that. Simply search for the title of today's presentation, which is Look Forward by Looking Back, and you'll find it out on the site. One final note, when we finish up here this morning and we close down the webinar, you will be presented with a very brief survey. We would greatly appreciate your taking just a few minutes to give us feedback. We always want to do better the next time. We appreciate getting that feedback from you. So if you can leave us an extra 60 seconds at the end for that, it would be great. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and say a few words about Performative. For those of you who are new to Performative, we are the largest and fastest growing online resource for senior level finance, treasury, accounting, and related professionals. We are a completely noise-free community of almost 500,000 folks at this point. I like to say we have absolutely no fun on Performative. It is all business. So there's no small talk. This is not a social network. This is a professional community where people ask questions and their peers and subject matter experts give them answers. It's a wonderful resource. It's all completely cost-free, noise-free. There's no ads on the site, no self-promotion allowed, etc. Please feel free to check us out at performative.com. Further, this morning we have a number of learning objectives. At the end of the day, you can read these bullets. We do want you to have a much better grip on understanding your skills and passions so that you can market yourself, present yourself in the most effective way possible, be it via your resume, your pitch, or other elements that you might use in the job search process. So we hope to give you all of those skills or lay up all of those skills here this morning. And with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce today's speaker, Moishe Kravitz, who is a Director of Finance at IDT Telecom. He's also a certified 5 o'clock club career coach. Moishe guides his clients in selecting appropriate targets and in marketing themselves effectively. His experience includes many years as an educator, actuarial positions at CNA Insurance and Buck Consultants, and his position as Director of FP&A at a major telecom energy company. Everywhere he works, Moishe demonstrates a passion for helping others to improve their skills and efficiency. With his passion, he helps job seekers hone their search skills, enabling them to land offers more quickly and effectively. I would be honored to hand it off to you.
Okay, thank you, John. Good morning, and good morning to all our listeners, attendees who have joined us. Thank you for joining us. As John mentioned, our topic today is to look forward. We always want to look forward to bigger and better things in our career as well as our personal life. And some of the things in our career that we may be looking forward to bigger and better might be enhancing our performance in our current role, or perhaps increasing our level of satisfaction with the current role, maybe positioning ourselves for an internal promotion, and some people may be interested to look outside, take a role, maybe a high role at another company, maybe even switch industries or even careers, and we do so effectively and strategically by looking back to recognize, determine our strengths, actually compile an inventory of our skills and our passions, and use that to look forward towards things, towards positions that we know we'll be able to do successfully, enthusiastically, and actually be offered these positions because of our qualifications and our ability to show these qualifications to a prospective employer. Any marketing endeavor begins with having a good understanding of the product. In this case, if you're marketing yourself, the product is you yourself. You need an understanding of your skills and your passions. We'll introduce a tool which will make this an easy and accurate process. Also, we'll introduce a tool to help you to write down your goals. We'll discuss the value, the importance of having written goals, and an easy, painless, even enjoyable way to go about it. Finally, we'll take the output of these two components and use that to build a profile which will present a concise and compelling picture of you, your skills, and values to any prospective employer. Looking back, there's great value to be derived from looking back in a structured way to come to a full understanding of you yourself, understanding your product. I'll give you an illustration of how effective and how significant it could be by telling you the story of Gina. Gina was a lawyer. She graduated from one of the top schools. She was working in a major law firm. She'd been there 6 years. She was very bright, well-liked among her associates, and she was only waiting for the day when she would be invited to join the firm as a partner. Well, she was invited, but not the invitation she anticipated. She was invited to find another job, and they explained to her why. They didn't see in her dedication to the profession nor dedication to the firm. And Gina could not find not one person among her friends there who was willing to recommend her to another prospective employer. What to do? Gina worked with a coach and discovered some things that were very, very significant and helpful to her in targeting and being offered and accepting a position that was appropriate for her. She discovered that, yes, she was very skilled and very passionate about the field of law. But she discovered also that the environment in which she was working, a major law firm with many layers of bureaucracy, little to no autonomy in decision-making and implementing decisions, was stifling her. Furthermore, the long, unpredictable hours was very against her family-centered lifestyle. Equipped with this and other insights, she targeted a position doing the same type of work she'd been doing, working within securities. But she targeted a position at an investment bank. And she was hired, she accepted the job, as head counsel in an investment bank. Same work, different environment, and she thrived over there. That's how effective it can be to get a handle, get an inventory of your skills, your passions, your preferences in terms of a job situation. And it could be game-changing. Now, how do we do this? How do we build this inventory? tell you first about Steve Jobs, who needed to do such a thing at one point. After bringing in John Sculley to lead Apple Corporation, John Sculley fired Steve Jobs. Now, like anyone who gets fired or gets laid off, Steve Jobs became depressed, felt that he's good for nothing. What will he be able to do? He listed those things which mattered most to him in his 10 years at that point at Apple. And he said, 3 things jumped off that piece of paper. 3 things that were really important to me. And identifying those 3 things led him to the formation of Next Computers. So that's the principle. Look back. Look at your accomplishments. And build from that your inventory of skills. The 5 O'Clock Club, an organization which has been helping job seekers and professionals to manage their career, advance their career for the past 30 years, has formalized this into a tool which they call 7 Stories exercise, which you'll soon understand why it has that name. You think of an event in your life where you accomplished something, and you enjoyed it, and you felt proud of that accomplishment. Think of another one. Think of 5, 10, 20. Think in your entire professional career. Think prior to your professional career. Use stories and accomplishments from your adult life, from earlier, career-related, not career-related, and pick out the 7 which seem most significant. And take one at a time and drill in to see what skills did I use in achieving this accomplishment. What did I enjoy about it? What impassioned me? What drove me? I'll tell you an example. And I was working once with a client and explaining this concept. I asked, please tell me an event, an accomplishment that you were proud of, that you enjoyed. Without hesitating, she said, oh, once I went to Europe and I led tour groups of 50 tourists at a time. Oh? She said, I'd never been to Europe. I didn't know any of the sites. The night before, she'd take a book in her hotel room and study and read the map and leave the book in the hotel room and go out the next day and lead her groups. It's tremendous. If you like, take a pencil right now and quickly jot down a few skills which you would see are used in making such an accomplishment. I'll tell you the ones that I see. At the surface, you can see map reading and memorizing, but drilling in a little more to look at those skills which are useful in a corporate position, I see somebody who's very good at targeting and attracting clients. A person who must have great presentation skills to intrigue and entertain groups of 50 tourists at a time, must have good organization skills, and maybe most significant, here's a person who's not afraid of the unknown. She responds to the challenge. That was the driving passion, this excitement, something never done before. Tomorrow she doesn't even know where she's going, what to show, who will be the clients, and she thrives on this. Now imagine, equipped with this understanding, she knows well to steer far away from any type of position in which she'll be very locked in. Something that's well-defined, no unknowns, no challenges, she'll wither up in such a position. However, given a company which needs somebody who's not afraid of facing the unknown, who responds to the challenge, what a boon for that company to have such a candidate. And she can undertake it very, very confidently because she sees in her past that she's done such a thing. This is probably not the only incident where that passion comes through. In her list of 10, 20 stories, it would probably show through many times. That gives her the confidence to go ahead and undertake some new challenge that she's never done before in some new context. But she's confident she could do it because she's done it so many times in the past. And presenting some of those experiences, some of those accomplishments to a prospective employer gives the employer confidence that here's the person who could do it for me. That is one of the benefits of doing 7 Stories exercise. There are others. An obvious one is it helps you to target a position which is appropriate to you. It uses your skills and your passions, and it conforms with the type of culture you'll be comfortable with, type of life values, ethics, work style, whatever you're able to succeed in because you've identified that. Another benefit is that clearly understanding your skills and your passions can greatly help to enhance your performance even in a current position. You know, by the way, it's not statistically significant, but it's anecdotal, but I think it's correct. Many, perhaps most people, are not satisfied with their position, with their work. But it will not require, in many cases, a major change in order to greatly increase this level of satisfaction. If they'll understand what motivates them, where their skills lie, and how to better use those skills and apply them in their workday, that will enhance their satisfaction and their performance. I'll tell you a few examples. When I worked in pension consulting, so the principal actuaries, the highest level actuaries, in addition to doing the highest level actuarial work, they were expected also to bring in new business and expected, furthermore, to build their staff, build the skills within their staff. One day, somebody realized that not all actuaries are created equal. Some are good at bringing in new business, and some are terrible at bringing in new business, but they may be good at developing staff. Imagine the delight of the actuary who dreaded every day that he had to come in and try to make another call to get new business. And today he's coming to work and he doesn't have to do it. And he's able to go and dedicate his energies to that staff development program, which he didn't have time to do. Now he can do something to dig in where he has passion and he has skills. He can accomplish a lot more. I'll tell you another example. Heidi worked for a major hotel chain. She was called brand manager, which meant she was responsible for 100 franchise hotels. She would work with the general manager of each of those hotels to ensure that each hotel was living up to the very high standards which this chain set for performance in many, many well-defined areas. And Heidi was burning out. She'd come in every day, look at the metrics on her 100 hotels, pick out one of those guys at the bottom, call up the manager, try to work with him, try to lift his hotel in performance. Sometimes they didn't answer, didn't return her calls. Sometimes she'd speak to them. They wouldn't not even acknowledge a problem, or they would but not implement her solutions. She called it hotel chasing. So at one point she did an assessment and looked to see what was it in her skill set that made her, which indeed she was and was acknowledged as one of the best in this role, but it wasn't going. And she realized that she worked best when she was involved, engaged with a manager who was interested to have her input and interested to work with her to implement her solutions. Now, there are people who are good at bringing up the bottom. I know teachers who excel at helping those underperformers in the classroom to build them up, give them confidence, give them skills, and get them up to par. That was not her skill, not her fault. But rather than focusing on the area where she's very weak, rather focus on the area where she's very strong. So she decided she was going to force herself, look at the top third of the list. And the next day she came into work, looked at the top of the list, and she found one hotel, which was way at the top, great metrics, except for one, which was way out of line. That was very uncharacteristic. Such a great hotel, why is this metric, which was usable denials, was way out of line? Usable denials means if you call up, you want to book 4 nights at a hotel, and they can't accept your reservation because one of those nights is is already taken. That's a big revenue loss for the hotel. This chain had procedures to use which would reduce this metric and solve that problem in many cases. She picked up the phone. She called this general manager. He said, "Thank you for calling. I've been struggling with that metric. What do you suggest?" And they discussed back and forth, this solution, that solution. He invited her, "Please come down to my hotel and let's work together on this problem." She was elated. A different worker. Now she came to work with enthusiasm and able to engage her strengths. That is how recognizing your strengths and passions and then managing your workday in order to play to those strengths can have a tremendous impact on your performance. As we mentioned with the European tour guide, that looking back to see things that you've done, that gives you confidence to undertake new challenges, seeing that even though maybe the context is different, but the essence of it is really something that you've done successfully many times. I'll tell you another example in that regard. I'm working now with a client whose background is in IT. And in IT, he became superb at, first of all, even recognizing when there was a major problem which others didn't even recognize. He is able to define the problem in order to go ahead and create solutions which are very workable. Not only workable, but he has quantified metrics showing the millions of dollars that he saved, the processing time that he saved, and he does this now not only in IT. He does it in many areas. He does it for routing. He does it for billing. He does it for process implementation. He does it for staff training. And his accomplishments are major. He can take these accomplishments and present them to a consultant, to an employer, in an industry where he never worked. But you see that he's done this across industries. It's a fundamental skill set that he has. He's shown and proven many times. He can confidently undertake these new challenges, and an employer can confidently take him to face problems which no one else has been able to solve. Finally, the final benefit which we'll discuss today in terms of this assessment, this inventory of skills and passions, is that this inventory is the raw material which forms the basis of your profile. Your profile on LinkedIn, your elevator pitch, your 15-second pitch. It forms the basis of the items that you choose to put on your resume and the items that you bring with you to your interview. A lot of stories may not fit on the resume, but you bring them with you and have them available to present at the resume. By the way, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, just a word about it. Some people not on it at all. Some people on it just kind of nominally, not really active. Some people, yes, active, building a network, building people with whom they interact, sharing ideas, getting connections that you can use now or in the future. That's all good. But the hiring process has taken a 180-degree turn from the way it was when we were growing up. Yeah? We grew up. You had a resume typed and offset, and you made 100 copies and you sent it out, or you answered ads, and you had to put yourself in front of the employer. Today, the employer can find you without you sending a resume. 180-degree turn. They go to LinkedIn, and they choose their candidates from there. So your profile is there on LinkedIn. You want it to be compelling. You want it to attract the type of attention that you're interested in. I know a person who does a lot of hiring, and for several years, he has not hired from a resume. He looks to LinkedIn to get his candidates. These are some of the benefits from doing an assessment. Now, the next thing we said was we need goals. We need defined goals. We need written goals. Harvard University did a study of graduates who were about 10 years out, 10 years since they graduated. And they wanted to compare the difference in performance in accomplishment between those who graduated with defined goals and without defined goals. People who had defined goals when they graduated outperformed those who did not by about 5 times. They used salary as their metric to measure accomplishment, and obviously you could probably use a different metric also. This one is easy to quantify. We're not finished. When they measured the accomplishment of people who had not only defined goals, but written defined goals, the outperformance was 10 times. And it's easy really to understand why. If you have written defined goals, so then you have direction. You have motivation. You're driven to work towards those goals. So, written defined goals help you to achieve much more. I think the next thing that it helps for is even more significant. We're all faced with this, and the way that Stephen Covey puts it is that we're faced in the course of a day with the urgent and the important. Urgent might be those things which need attention right now. I have to answer this email, I have to go to this meeting, I have to see how to get this bill paid, I have to see that this report should be delivered. Important will be maybe more strategic type of things. Right? This process needs to be revised. I need to develop certain skills within myself, within my staff. I need to enhance certain working relationships that we should be able to work better, more efficiently together. And let's not leave out also the importance a worker is a person, right? Personal skills, personal values, personal priorities are part of the person's life also. And that also is subject to this urgent versus important. And sometimes time with family and loved ones also doesn't get the attention that it needs because it's not planned for in a way that it could be planned for. So written goals could help you achieve not only more, but help you achieve what's most important to achieve. When that is written down, this process needs refinement. You may be too busy today with urgent to get to it, but if it's written down, you'll plan and you'll make time to see to get to it. So 5 O'Clock Club has a tool which, if we haven't yet written down our goals, makes it very easy, even enjoyable for us, to go ahead and do so. And it will bring out our professional goals and our personal goals. The tool is really a list. You sit down in a quiet place, a paper and a pencil, and maybe give yourself half an hour or an hour, and you start writing. You start writing to describe what is your life like today. And you don't have to just use your imagination. They give you a list of 5 or 10 questions, specific things to address. What kind of work are you doing? What is the office situation like? You're a one-man shop. Are there many people around? Are you on the phone? Are you on the computer? You're inside. Are you outside? Are you traveling? Who are your friends? What do they do? What are they involved in? What's your family life like? What do you do socially? What do you do for keep up your physical health? How do you tend to your spiritual needs? How's your health? These type of things. What's life like today? Now, same set of questions, 5 years out, 10 years out, 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. You know, they say today forecasting, we don't make forecasts 5 years, 3 years, make rolling forecasts. Nobody's going to do an actual to projected variance on you over here. It doesn't have to be exact, doesn't have to be accurate. It has to be directional, right? And sometimes amazing things come out by doing this exercise. And we find that about 15 years out is where people begin to loosen up and allow themselves to even admit to themselves what maybe some of their deep goals are. Right? You see things coming out like, for example, in 15 years, I'm going to move to California with my wife, and we're going to build a house near the ocean. Maybe somebody else will put down that finally that small business that he's been wanting to start with a partner, it's finally taking off. Someone else might say that the consulting work that he wanted to do is really peaking. This gives us a glimpse into those things which, on a daily basis, sometimes we may not even admit to ourselves. But having that defined, recognized, helps us in many ways. One way that it helps us is to help us choose among opportunities. I'll give you an example. Mark was an accounting manager. He had done his 40-year vision. And in there, it said that he was hoping to become controller. Okay? Next day, he gets a visit. They said, Mark, could you help us out? The IT manager just gave us notice. We need somebody to fill in temporarily until we can find somebody permanent to take that slot. We know you're not really an IT guy, but you're a great manager. You know something about IT. You're our best candidate for a temporary replacement. Are you interested? Yesterday, he would have been not interested. Maybe politically he'll have to consider it, but for himself, no interest. But now he's done his 40-year vision. He has this goal of becoming controller. That gives him some breadth within which, some perspective within which, to weigh this opportunity. Will the first-hand familiarity that he will achieve with the systems that they're currently using in IT, with the personnel who are currently there in IT, with the problems and shortcomings of the existing systems, with what software is available on the market, will all of that knowledge serve him well in his growth towards becoming a controller? If he deems that it will, he'll say, I'll be happy to take the opportunity. But having this goal enables him to put an opportunity into a perspective and evaluate it in terms of, is it leading me in the direction of my goal? Right? In any case, a person may be faced with 2 job offers. Salary shouldn't be the determinant factor. It should be, will this lead me closer to my goal? Excuse me. Another thing which having goals can enable a person to do, besides choosing among opportunities, is actually to create opportunities for himself. Let's take another example. CFO. This CFO sees a big opportunity to be involved with M&A. Maybe in his country, maybe he sees that emerging in the industry. M&A is becoming, let's say, an important skill for a CFO. Unfortunately, he has no experience in that area. Now, he certainly has the type of skills that would be necessary to master the trade. But how does he get his feet wet? How does he get experience? So now, since he's defined this as a goal, he can begin to create his opportunities. He'll walk over to the people who are doing the M&A in his company. Say, I'm interested in learning. Could I come to your meetings? Could I have a little portion of the work to do? And gradually learn, grow, and assume more responsibilities. Writing down your goals enables you to create your opportunities. So now we have our 2 sets of inputs. We have our inventory of skills and passions from our 7 Stories exercise. We have our written goals from our 40-year vision. We can input these into our profile to create a compelling profile to the outside. I like to call this profile your PDA file. P means position yourself. I was driving on the highway, and the car next to me had a sign painted on the door that said, Professional Handyman. That's a positioning statement. I know exactly what the guy does. That's a positioning statement. Now, had the truck behind him had a sign on it saying plumber, is that a complete positioning statement? I don't think so. I don't know if he's the plumber who I would call to my house to fix the sink. Or is he the plumber who installs plumbing systems into skyscrapers? Or does he design the plumbing systems that go into skyscrapers? I need more information. A positioning statement has to say, what do you do and at what level? I'm a CFO for a $1 million a year company. I'm a CFO for a $1 billion a year company. What do you do and at what level? I'm a CFO for a $1 billion a year pharmaceutical company. Okay, I think that's a positioning statement. Now, if he'll say, I'm a CFO for a $1 billion a year pharmaceutical company, and I have a bachelor's in chemistry and a master's in chemical engineering, now he's done more than position himself. He has differentiated himself from most, maybe all of the other candidates for CFO for pharmaceutical. How many of those CFOs do you think have a degree in chemistry and chemical engineering? He's differentiated himself from the competition. That's the D, differentiate yourself. Now, you could differentiate yourself by your training like he did, by your experience. Maybe he's a CFO who has successfully brought 2, 3, 4 companies already, turned them around, and put them back on the strong footing. He can differentiate himself by his experience. You could differentiate yourself by your work style, by your ethics, but in some way you want to differentiate yourself. Why should they take me instead of 100 or 1,000 other applicants? And the most compelling part of it is, don't tell me, show me. Show me what you can accomplish. If you're a sales manager, show me that you grew sales 7% year over year for 3 years in a row. Show me you're a CFO who increased revenues in his company while not losing 1 point of gross margin. I recently saw that a revision that was put in place to a bonus incentive program drove up gross margin 12%, 12 points, because the business managers were now focused on an area of cost that they had not been focusing on. Low-hanging fruit. But I'd like to be the finance guy who put that revision into place and have that quantified in my accomplishments. There's another one in this realm that revising the bonus incentive structure so motivated the sales staff that whereas last year 20% of them exceeded target, with this revised bonus 65% of them exceeded target. Did they become better salesmen? Did the product get better? This bonus incentive was well designed. How's that for an accomplishment, a quantified accomplishment on your resume? So that is what speaks loudly, clearly, that's compelling. Quantified accomplishments after you've positioned yourself and differentiated yourself. So this profile is used any place that you present yourself to the public, within your company, outside your company, online, LinkedIn, pitch. When you write a cover letter, these are the elements that go into the cover letter. These are the elements with which you build your resume and your interviews. A word about the 5 o'clock club, which we've mentioned. As we said, it's been around for 30 years. Research means that they've helped thousands of professionals to land good positions, and each one comes back and reports and tells the group what methodologies helped me in landing that position, and the methodologies are constantly being refined as we see what is successful in the workplace. The 5 o'clock club has a website which offers many, many articles on all aspects of career management. These articles are available for free on the website, and we encourage you to take advantage of that resource. Okay, John, that finishes up what I had to present for the people today. I hope they enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Moshe. And that was really interesting. A lot of great stories and some great just fundamental thoughts about how you look back to look forward and position yourself. That makes an awful lot of sense, I have to say. At this point, we're going to move into the next phase of the webinar. First off, we have a couple of polls that we'd like to kick off. This is part of the CPE credit process. And I'm putting the first poll question out. Even if you're not here for CPE credit, it would be great to hear from you on this. And this question is very straightforward. When starting a job search, have you started with a personal inventory and career goals to build your story and desired outcome? Which makes a heck of a lot of sense, but my guess is a lot of folks perhaps haven't done that and don't think that methodically. But it'll be interesting to find out where the folks on this call stand on that item. I will remind everyone that if you have any questions for Moshe as we move into the Q&A part of this morning's program, please feel free to ask them at any time using the question area in your GoToWebinar control panel. So thanks for that first question. Now we're actually going to pop out the second question really quickly, give it another 30 seconds. This is one just to see if you're paying attention out there, and we've got your wake this morning. Just very quickly, if you could go ahead and put your responses in, and then we'll move to the Q&A portion of this morning's event. We'll leave this open for another 5 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and close it down. Thank you very much. All right, so here we go. First off, I often find it interesting to take a look at the poll questions, certainly the first poll question that we just asked. Moshe, I'd love to get your take on this result here and what you think about folks and how they prepare for their job search. What do you think about these numbers?
Kind of. Maybe some of those people were embarrassed to say no.
Yeah, although some folks...
Seriously, I don't mean to insult anybody. Seriously, the point that you made that a lot of the things that we said today are obvious. They really are. And when I think, why should a person need any career coaching? All this stuff is obvious. So I look at automobiles. Yeah? Any car on the street today has a light on the side, sometimes many lights on the side, alongside the headlight. If you grew up when I did, there was no such thing. Headlights faced forward and rear lights faced backward, and there was no side lighting on a car. Now, could there be anything more logical and obvious than the need for side lighting? But it took about 80 years till somebody thought of it. So many of these things are very obvious, and nonetheless, people don't think of it. When you hear the idea, you say, yeah, that's good. So no, we're not castigating anybody. If they hadn't done it, but now that you have heard the idea, which sounds very obvious, then you could be encouraged to go ahead and do it. So good to those people who, yes, had that idea, that presence of mind, and now we can see those blue and greens moving up to the top.
Great. All right, let's go ahead and move on to questions. Once again, I encourage folks to ask any questions that you may have. So, Moshe, let's start with a couple items here. You stressed the importance of understanding your product, quote, your personal product, which I guess is you, and what you've done. Is it equally important to understand your market?
It definitely is. I'm glad you asked that. In fact, so equally important that we dedicated the next webinar to that topic. But since you asked, we should just speak for a moment towards that. It entails research. Once you've done this research into yourself, you know what the skills and passions are that you bring to the table, you want to go ahead and compile an initial list of target companies, those, as we mentioned today, those at which you're most likely to succeed based on this inventory of skills and passions. And then you go ahead and do further research to see if it indeed it meets your initial understanding, if your skill set will really fit with that target. But it is a big subject. I'm glad you asked.
Right. Now, this Harvard study that you pointed to earlier about the effectiveness of writing down goals. I've heard of that study for ages. I've probably heard that from my parents when I was a teenager growing up. I think it's obvious that that would be true, and yet a lot of people don't do it. What suggestions might you have for making it easier for people to get to the stage where they feel comfortable or motivated or whatever else it might be that they've been missing in the past, they haven't written down these goals? What do you suggest as mechanisms for making it easier to make that happen? Should you buddy up with people and create your goals and compare them, and is that motivating, or what mechanisms would you recommend for making that happen?
I'm glad you asked that. I alluded to that in my comment about the fact that this 40-year goal methodology is easy and enjoyable, that it can help the person get over the hump, the reluctance to do such a thing. And if that promise is not enough, so then one strategy is to break it up into small bits, right? Often I don't want to do it because it's going to take too long. I don't have the time right now. I'll do it another time. Break it into small pieces. Do a little part of it today. Do one stretch of it today. And once you've done that, it'll taste so sweet that you'll probably go on to do another piece and another piece. That's one strategy.
And now, what would you say to folks who might say that I'm not writing these things down because I'm afraid of what I might see? I might feel like I'm not qualified to reach those goals, or I'm completely mispositioned for it, or what if I don't have the confidence in myself to be able to get from an accounting manager or a BU controller to the CFO position, or whatever my goals are. It's a natural tendency for a lot of folks to put artificial barriers, mental barriers, in between themselves and where they want to get. Some of that might be based on real-life experience, et cetera, but how do you get around that?
Okay, so you're asking that some people are even reluctant to put it down because they don't want to face this sense of incompetence.
Or possibility of failure,
right.
or any variety of things, but it could maybe most basically come down to lack of confidence even.
Yeah. One strategy could be that the person is already at some level of accomplishment. Yeah? With this type of attitude that he has, I won't be able to do this, won't be able to do that. Had he ever dreamt of reaching this level of accomplishment that he did reach? How did he do so? Step by step, whatever way he got there, he did get there. That itself can be encouraging to the person that he can continue to do more. That's one way. And the other thing is that this type of self-fulfilling thing could be true, right? They say either you don't plan to fail, but you could fail to plan. Yeah? And if you fail to plan, you don't give yourself the opportunity of setting those goals for yourself, so it greatly reduces the likelihood of achieving them. And here also, the same thing we said before, you can break it into smaller bits. If controller seems too awesome, too unattainable, too far away, even though you'd love to get there, break it into smaller steps. Director of accounting, senior manager, steps until it's at a small enough point that it's something that it looks feasible to you.
Great. Next question, could you speak more about how the 7 Storeys exercise helps you target appropriate positions?
Yeah, that's also, as we mentioned, developed more in the one of the later sessions, but we'll speak to it briefly. The next step after compiling this inventory of skills and passions would be to brainstorm all possible jobs that would use this skill set. And brainstorming is not the point at which to be selective, say, oh, not this, not this. This is the left brain, the right brain, whichever one, the creative thinking, where you just put down all ideas that you could think of, and there you can surely use others to help you. Use your family, your friends, your business associates, to think of all possible areas where these skills might be used. And there's great room for imagination and creativity. Also, a very simple tool would be, let's give an example, our controller example. He's thought about his skills, and he thinks that that's a job function that I should be able to grow into with my skill set. If you punch that in today to the internet, you'll come up with many different items which are associated with that, especially if you go into one of the job sites. Even some fields, you can put it into like a glossary type of thing. What you're looking for is associations, other fields, other positions, other job functions associated with that one that you've picked out, and that will help you go beyond your imagination and jog your ideas for even more possible positions than you would have thought of on your own or even with your friends. So that's the first step. Brainstorm many different job possibilities, and then you go through them, rank them, prioritize them. These are more likely, these are a little less likely, and you do your research into them.
Great. Is there a suggested mix of stories, personal versus professional, or how you might slice those up? I mean, what if someone has no personal stories, they're all professional, that they feel, best define them or help them define what they've done and their accomplishments they enjoy? Is there a sort of a right answer to that?
No, not at all. In fact, you might expect that a person who's been already 20 years in the working world, and the 5 o'clock club does encourage anybody, no matter if he's starting out in the workforce, whether he's been there 20 years, to do this assessment because of the many benefits which will accrue from doing it. But a person 20 years working will likely have many accomplishments that are rooted in his career. When I work with people who are at the beginning of their work cycle, they don't have much career-related experience, but they still could have many significant stories which are demonstrating skills that they have that could be used in the workplace. That does require a little more ingenuity, imaginativeness on their part in order to translate that into the type of corporate work that they could be doing. One interesting thing to note is Kate Wendleton, who founded and runs the 5 o'clock club, grew up always very good in math, and people assumed, and so did she, that she'll be working in something related with math, which she was. She was the head of a computer firm. And that's when she first did this 7 stories exercise. It didn't have that name at the time. And 9 out of 10 of her stories had nothing to do with computers and nothing to do with math. And that's when she began to look to turn her career in a different direction. So, yeah.
Interesting. Great. Let's move on to the next question. Are there, you mentioned this 15-second pitch. Are there resources available? I mean, it's not easy to fit a lot into 15 seconds, and I guess a lot isn't the point. But are there resources available to help develop that 15-second, or some people call it elevator pitch?
Oh, there's an excellent resource. I'll tell you 3 things. First of all, the structure and content of the pitch is based on what we discussed today. Once you have that, you have the content, you know what you want to put in there, but like you said, it's too long. So there's an excellent resource online. If you type in 15secondpitch.com, you spell out the word F-I-F-T-E-N, second pitch. So they will ask you questions which you'll take this content and fit it into the questions which they ask, and then they'll wrap it up for you into a draft of a pitch. And then you go iteratively, and it helps you to refine it. It helps you to shorten it, make it more concise. That's the second thing. And the third thing is try it out a lot on your friends. To get a good, concise, compelling pitch takes sometimes a lot of time, work, effort, thought, and try it out on your friends, your associates. Say it over to them, and get their input, and then tweak it a little more.
Interesting. So that's 15secondpitch.com. Is that a free tool?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds interesting. Great. Wonderful. Well, with that, it's a few minutes before the hour, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time here and get us wrapped up on time. So at this point, why don't we call that the last question? And I'd like to, first off, thank Marcia for your time and insight. Really appreciate your taking the time to join us this morning and share this information. And it was interesting for me because I've never seen that sort of the personal skills assessment / inventory pulled together in that way, and I thought that was unique and useful. So thank you very much for your time this morning, Marcia.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Also, of course, we'd like to thank everyone who joined us this morning. Thanks for coming along. I hope everyone will take something genuinely useful and valuable away from this that will make you more effective in your goal setting and in your career. If you have any questions about CPE credits or anything you saw today, feel free to reach out to Tanya Walsh. Her email is at the bottom of the screen here. She is our event manager. She's our CPE credit program manager as well, so she can help you out with that. As I noted before, this presentation is already posted out on Performative, so feel free to simply come to Performative, search on the title, Look Forward by Looking Back, and that'll pop right up for you. When I close this event down, you will be presented with a brief survey. We would greatly appreciate your taking that. Just another minute or so of your time is very helpful in our continued development of our event programs. So we thank everyone, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and bid you all adieu. Have a great Friday and following weekend, and we hope to see you again at our next event or at performative.com. Great weekend all. Thank you.